Hello, my name is Tash and I'm going to answer the question, how does context affect the communicative language of design media devices? Let's strip that down. Context, that which forms the setting for an event, statement or idea, and in terms of which it can be fully understood and assessed. Communication, the imparting or exchanging of information or news. Design media devices, billboards, print adverts, oral and visual adverts. Greetings. If I were to go to Italy and I was greeted with kisses, which is considered a cultural norm there, then I may feel offended. I mean, I'd probably feel uncomfortable anyway. The OK sign. It's a national symbol which saves you from verbalising any thoughts. It's the same as a thumbs up. It's meant to be a positive sign. In countries such as Greece and Turkey, however, this gesture can be taken as highly vulgar. In theory, what you're telling someone is that they resemble a certain part of the body. It can also mean you're calling them a homosexual. Pointing. Pointing with your finger is rude in so many countries. Just eradicate that motion. Anger. Did you know that being angry in some African countries such as Kenya can be taken as a sign of mental illness? And we know the British love to moan and yell when they're on holiday, so if you haven't researched, this could spell for a terrible holiday. So moving on, let's look at a case study. I'm going to move to Japan. And after I've got over the time difference and the jet lag, I'm going outside to communicate with the outside world, as you do. Here's some things to note. Number one, cooperation is so important in Japan. Here in Britain, if you don't want to work as part of a team because you think you're superior or inferior, you will just be frowned upon. But it's seen as ignorant over in Japan. Number two, Japanese humour is often considered childish. There's face pulling, hitting on the head, acting like you're 5 years old, I suppose it's how Pokemon Dragon Ball Z are portrayed over here, which is apparently a good portrayal. Number three, at work in Japan, never say anything negative, as it will seem that you're unhappy in your job and it will probably be reported to the manager. You can't have lunchtime moans like you do in Britain. Some of these things go against everything that is stereotyped in, well, the British culture. But those are just a few examples, and we're just using the comparison of two countries here. None of those are too vital, and you could probably apologise that you're a Westerner, or another, a term that Edward Said popularised. But imagine if you were in a global organisation. Imagine making a mistake then. Then that quote would be viable. So let's go back to Japan, metaphorically. They're notable for being happier than us Brits, not particularly tricky, and there's a strong sense of community. And here are some reasons why I think that. The average person earns this much a year. Life expectancy in Japan is this many years. 70% of people aged 15 to 64 in Japan have a paid job. 70% of people say they have more positive experiences in their average day than negative. All of these are above the OECD Better Life average, which is the survey in which these are taken from. So does the context then reflect in their media? Well, let's look at Japanese commercials. Upon research, I found that three things were important in Japanese commercials. Number one, get a celebrity in the commercial. Number two, saturated bright colour styles. The flashier the better. And number three, the picture of the product is arguably less important than the text next to it, as the text is bright and abrupt. So whether you're working in Japan or for Japan, in say advertising, it's so important you research the culture and the context for the intended audience. This stands alone for every country. Cross-cultural research is essential. The United States Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in 2002 described culture as the set of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual and emotional features of society or a social group, and that it encompasses, in addition to art and literature, lifestyles and ways of living. Of course the town you live in is going to be vastly different to someone who lives in a different climate, surrounded by otherworldly natural structures, with different belief systems, other local cuisine, different views of importance on education, family systems, and in their whole their viewpoint and involvement in the media. So the communicative language referred to in the title is the visual here, and here in Britain, flashy animated images are associated with children or anime, which is Japanese. They aren't associated with serious commercials. That in a sentence is the difference between some of our design media devices and some of the Japanese. I want to leave you with this beautiful quote by Said. Said said, "Just as none of us is outside or beyond geography, none of us is completely free from the struggle over geography. That struggle is complex and interesting because it is not only about soldiers and cannons, but also ideas, about forms, about images and imaginings." it.